Hello my peeps! My name is Kat, aka Kakibot, and today we are in this little test kitchen of ours because we are going to be cooking a 3-course Scottish menu for Burns Night, which is on the 25th of January. There's usually quite a lot of haggis eating, there's some rogue bagpiping, there's also poetry reading, but today we are going to be focusing on the food itself the most. So my thinking was, a lot of you are not based in the UK, so perhaps you might feel like there's no way you would be able to make some Scottish recipes because you just don't have the access to the right ingredients. And when I looked into it, actually quite a lot of these things are probably very easy to find, and also the recipes themselves are quite accessible even to people who are not like especially skilled in cooking, like this girl. We're also gonna try and make our own fake haggis, so yeah, stay tuned to see how that turns out. But our first thing is gonna be a little starter dish, Cullen Skink. Let's cook. So for our menu starter, we went with a hearty, warming, middle of winter soup, Cullen Skink, which is basically kind of like a Scottish chowder. Now let's see what you need to make it. Okay, so we're gonna start by turning the heat on. Yeah, that's it. Okay, and we're gonna melt some butter in there, kind of like a teaspoon worth of butter. But if you really like your butter, maybe, you know, you can go wild and put more butter in. We're gonna melt that. We don't want to like make it caramelize or anything. We just want it to be nice and translucent and ready for our onions to go in. Cut into bits, small bits. Let's do this. Yes. Okay, so we're gonna keep the onion in for like 5-ish minutes. We want it to be nice and translucent. I mean, you've probably all cooked onions for a base of a meal before, so you know what we're looking for. It smells nice and sweet and buttery, like a little cake made out of just onions. So I think that we have reached the point where the potatoes can go in. So we have 400 grams of potatoes, kind of like your basic potatoes, nothing special. We cut them into like 1 centimeter-ish cubes, because obviously if they were larger, they would take longer, so we don't want that. And also like think about what sort of size of potato you want in your soup when you eat it. Anyway, in with the potatoes. Yeah, potatoes. Boil them, mash them, put them in a Cullen Skink. Water, 300 milliliters. Ah! And now we're basically leaving the potatoes to boil in their flavorsome onion water for about 15-ish minutes. But obviously you can always test using a fork or a knife or whatever pointy thing you have on hand. So while the potatoes are being boiled, we are gonna get on with the fish. So this is a smoked haddock, which would be the traditional fish to put into this, and also it's like the smoked fish of choice here in the UK. Don't be too alarmed by the color if you're not from around here, because I think that there's essentially just coloring being added for, I don't know, aesthetic reasons. Yeah, smells nice though. So if you can't get your hands onto a smoked haddock, I'm pretty sure any white fish that has been smoked will do. I probably wouldn't use something oily like mackerel, but those also come smoked pretty often. I mean, you know what? Live your dreams. If you want smoked mackerel in it, just go for it. We are gonna go with the smoked haddock. So we're gonna put it in this other pan that we have here. Boop, boop, boop. We're gonna pop that in. Whoop. Okay, so we popped the fish into the pan and we covered it in 250 milliliters of whole milk. And we're gonna cook that for about 5 minutes until it's kind of like nice and tender and just, you know, not raw fish. Okay, so this fish is definitely getting kind of nice and flaky in here. So I think that we're gonna take it out in a bit. Alrighty, so this fish is kind of starting to fall apart. So I'm gonna fish it out while I can still kind of get a hold of the whole fillet-ish. And set it aside. Okay, a little bit more fishing. Fishing. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you have some flakes left in the milk, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Says Kat, who is doing this for the first time in her life. Like a pro. Okay, I'm gonna leave this on the side to cool a bit. Fire safety, and this still probably needs some time, right? About 5 more minutes. Our potatoes are now done. I have tested them thoroughly, and what we're gonna do now is basically combine everything that we've made. So we're gonna pop the milk in that has created this delicious skin on top. Wow, the kindergarten cat would be thoroughly disgusted by this, but wow, this is a bit heavy. Whoop. Oh, that's heavy. Oh, that's heavy. Oh, that's heavy. Oh, that's heavy. Oh, I'm so buff. I'm so buff. I'm so buff. An important step to making Cullen Skink is really bigging yourself up and telling everyone you're buff. That's the Scottish way. And, of course, whoop, whoop, whoop. Now it's kind of nice and creamy, but the most important bit, the fish. As you can see, we flicked it, the whole fillet, which was already kind of flaking on its own anyway. But yeah, we kind of gave it a bit of help. We're gonna pop that in. The thing is, smoked haddock is really salty, which is why you didn't see me salt anything. But obviously, you have to make your own decisions regarding salt. I would recommend maybe a bit of pepper, maybe a bit of salt, depending on how much haddock you're using, or how salty your non-haddock bit of fish is. So I mixed all the stuff and I'm gonna pop it on the hob for another 5 minutes, just so the flavors kind of have a bit of a chance to make friends with each other. As you could see, right now it doesn't look like much, but that's how it's supposed to look. It's a very sort of yellowy, beige meal, and this is fine. And that's why we have our little helpers, the herbs, or herbs, depending on where you're from. So I have parsley and chives here. You can also just do one of these. I really like both parsley and chives, so I went for both. And when we plate it, we're gonna probably put some pepper on top and some herbs. And also, an important bit to eat your Cullen Skink with, oatcakes, obviously. This is a thing that it took me some time to kind of get used to this, that in Scotland when you order soup in like a cafe or such, you will get it with oatcakes or bread, but you know, oatcakes is the traditional way. So get your paws on some oatcakes, babes. So there you go, a Cullen Skink, super easy. Or So that was our hearty starter, and now we're gonna move on to the main course, for which obviously if you are UK based you can work with a pre-made haggis, but we thought to make this accessible to people all around the globe, we would try and make our own, and we don't know if that's gonna work out well, so yeah, it's gonna be a little surprise. We did buy a tiny pack of pre-prepared haggis because that's what people here in Scotland would usually do. Nobody really makes their own haggis, so you know, don't don't set up any high goals for yourself when making this menu. But yeah, we're gonna do our own thing, and it will either go amazingly or horribly. By the way, if you know which YouTuber we are paying an homage to in this next segment, let us know in the comments below. All right. Haggis, Neeps and Tatties. Your average Scot will make this dish out of the following: a Swede, some potatoes, and pre-made haggis. Not sponsored, by the way, but you know, open to it? But to make this recipe accessible to every fan of Scottish cuisine around the world, we're making our own fake haggis from scratch. We have borrowed this recipe from carolinescooking.com, and you will find the full recipe in the doobly-doo. So, for your imitation haggis, you're gonna need 1 pound of lamb mince, half pound of chicken livers. Don't worry, this is the only type of offal that has made it into the recipe. 1 cup of meaty stock, a bit of fresh thyme, nice unsalted butter, onion, freshly ground pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, coriander, allspice, and some steel-cut oats. And of course, to go with it, about a pound of potatoes and a similar amount of swede. To make your mash exquisite, don't forget some extra butter and some whole milk as well. We're gonna start by prepping the liver. This is the least pleasant part of the process, so let's get it over with. Cut off all hard and fatty bits, so you're only left with soft, uniform, dark liver. Next up, prep your onion. Smaller cut cubes will work better. We're gonna melt this butter on medium-high heat, and when it's all liquid and hot, in we go with the onion. It will take a couple of minutes before the onion is translucent, at which point we will add all of our spices and let them unfold all their amazing aroma in the hot butter. After a couple of stirs, we can also pop in the lamb. Ours was lean, but for a more authentic haggis, I recommend a regular full-fat mince. After it's browned, add the finely chopped liver and cook for a couple more minutes. We'll finish this off with the stock. We used lamb, but beef or chicken would probably also work fine. We will leave it alone to simmer for about 20 minutes. This is the perfect time to clean up a little, update your Instagram, and peel and cut your potatoes and swede. After the initial 20 minutes, time to pop the steel-cut oats in. Give it a good stir and transfer the whole mix into an oven-proof dish, perhaps with the help of someone stronger than you. We're gonna cover it with kitchen foil and take it over to the oven for an initial 20-minute cook with the cover on, after which we're gonna let it cook for the last 10 minutes coverless. And while the haggis sits in your oven, start cooking your sides. In 2 different pots, but you will find that the cooking time is pretty similar. Another moment of free time to post a picture of potatoes to your social media. When they both pass the knife test and are ready to stop cooking, season your swede with pepper and butter and mash just like you would potatoes. Potatoes will need to be seasoned with salt and then mashed with some butter and milk. The finished haggis is now ready to make its big entrance, and it smells amazing. We're gonna give it a little mix and then plate it in a 1:1:1 ratio with both of the sides. At this point, I really can't wait to actually test this out, and it's actually delicious. We also warmed up our pre-prepared haggis to compare the two. Careful, this is still very hot. Well, it's also a lot greasier and saltier than ours, but definitely delicious. I am tempted to say I prefer ours, but it's hard to disappoint with the classic. And now to my favorite bit of the menu, the pudding, or if you're not from around here, dessert. We are making Cranachan, which is one of the only Scottish desserts I can think of, but also my favorite. Let's do it. So, I just came home from a wonderful dinner with my friends. And it is about midnight now, and I'm thinking I need dessert. I thought I would make myself a Cranachan, which I think is just the most wonderful, sublime way of writing this edible love letter to everything that's tasty about Scotland. It has cream, it has raspberries, it has whiskey, of course. If you're a sensual cook like me, you have all of those things at home already. So the real superstars of this recipe, the Scottish raspberries, and obviously some Scottish double cream. So we also need some caster sugar. We also need some oats. That's a good staple in Scottish cuisine. I'm also gonna grab myself some honey. This is heather honey from the Edinburgh Honey Company. Very tasty. It's not easy to get, it's not super cheap, but it's like the Manuka honey of all of Scotland's bees. And of course, let's not forget the whiskey. This is a nice blend. I actually really enjoy it, but great for making desserts as well. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab some of these wonderful oats. I'm gonna pop them onto here. And and we're gonna put them in the oven for a bit. And we're not really waiting for them to get brown. We're just gonna wait for them to get a bit nuttier than they are now. And we're gonna check kind of by smell if they're getting there, but let's give them a couple of minutes now. So in the meantime, we're gonna take half of our raspberries and we're gonna run it through the sieve and create this luscious puree. And hopefully not make much mess. Okay, so we're gonna squish this through so we're not left with too many of those little pips in there. It smells like summer. Okay, so now we made this sweet bit of puree out of half of the raspberries we had ready for this recipe. We're gonna put a bit of sugar in there because it might be quite tart. Raspberries are not super sweet. What happens later is we're gonna be layering the cream with this and the fresh raspberries and the nice toasted oats. Yes. Okay, so that's our bad boys all toasted. They smell nice and nutty. And the next step is to whisk up this double cream. Okay. I would have done this even if I wasn't pretending to be Nigella. This might or might not take a lot of time. Whew. This is quite a workout. Anyway, I think that we're really getting there now. It's getting quite thick. And we are gonna now mix in some of the whiskey. It's the best bit. And also some honey. Do not question why I am using a different honey than I showed you before. That's because this one is more runny. Okay. There we go, with a bit of honey. And now, the star of the show, obviously. We're gonna be careful, but if you like things boozier, then obviously follow your heart. So I guess that's all of our main elements done, and now we just basically need to put the beautiful little pots of Scotland together. Well, I made a bit of a mess, but as I said, it's almost midnight and I just came home, and it doesn't have to be super pretty as long as it's delicious. Okay. We're gonna pop in some of the puree. It's our nice sweetened puree. I mean, these layered desserts are just the best, aren't they? Like, think of your tiramisus and think of your trifles. I mean, there's not really that much cooking involved and you get so much in return. As I said, the best. Don't forget, layer of the toasted oats. You can also whip the oats into the cream, but I thought I would leave the cream nice and pure. And look at that! I think that looks really cute. You definitely will not have any bad dreams after this. Let's try some. It's so good. It's just one of my favorite things. and so easy. You should definitely try this. Not necessarily this late at night, but whenever you want to impress your friends and show them a bit of Scottish cuisine. And that was it, my friends. A whole Scottish 3-course menu, which you can make anywhere around the world. Ta-da! Super proud of myself. Anyway, if you're looking for the recipes and you didn't quite follow how I was trying to convey them to you as I was cooking, just go down to the doobly-doo. I'm gonna leave all the links for all the recipes down there. Also, if you want to follow me on social media, I think that the best place to do that might be Instagram, either on KakiBot for my illustrations or KakiBlog for my photos. I also wanted to ask if this is the sort of video that you like watching. Obviously, one of the reasons why we made this is that right now we are in a nationwide lockdown again, so we can't really shoot outside, and we are just not really allowed outside. So this was perfect for us. But if you'd like to see more of our cooking, let us know down below in the comment section if there's any specific recipes you'd like us to tackle, and maybe we'll give it a shot. I'm not sure if it's gonna work out well, but depending on how hard they are. I am kind of just a scared little anxious home cook, so that's my level of expertise. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave us a like and a subscribe and ring the little belly bell, and I will see you soon. Bye. Such cooking. Super cookie. Na 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 na. So I just came home from a wonderful dinner. I forgot my whiskey. It's the Grandpa Simpson move.